Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 44 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I'm your host from Italy, Andrea Mengucci, and joining me we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello, everyone.
And once again, that's it, because Anthony flew all the way across the ocean to join the old continent. He's in Spain already, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he got here like today or something. Yesterday. Yeah, like he got here recently, so probably sleeping at this moment, at this very moment.
But he's not in your house, right?
No. He just landed. He's gonna be like seeing the stuff, few days, and then we will just meet. I'm gonna meet him before though, but then we will just meet the team and also just go testing house. The best part of the PT, yeah.
Testing house, yes, indeed. For those of you who don't know, me and Javier have been doing last time and also this one, we're doing camera. So you can go on my YouTube channel and you can find the our faces. That's meanwhile we talk. I've had a lot of good comments about it, so we're gonna keep it going until we can. Uh, as long as alongside our faces, you're also can see us scrolling through the deck list that we talk about, which is I guess kind of useful for some people. But still always going to be in the podcast form. And as always, we have a Patreon. We have a new Patreon. Is Boba Chow, and welcome Boba Chow to our Patreon. All right. So Javier, last episode we talked about you had an important tournament this weekend, the Legacy Showcase playoff, and how did that go? Did you get the Mox invite?
I did not get the Mox invite once again. I made top eight though. With I played Dimir Shadow. Um, Obviously didn't have a lot of time to test, but I played some games before, and I spent a lot of time on Sunday, like the whole Sunday. Baku 91 from Magic Online, I think the names might sound familiar to you. Actually came here to my place, and we just he helped me build the deck whenever we had lunch together, talking about the deck. So I ultimately ended submitting a blue black shadow deck with four Troll of Casa, whatever, Dam, what it was called. Just making it the shadow deck a little bit of a reanimator deck as well. Trying to make the deck a little bit more, like a little bit like a hybrid between. Because that's a combo, right? Like if you get a turn 2/6/5, cannot be blocked, it's a combo in a way. So I just played that deck, and honestly, the deck was fine. It was not great, I guess, but I felt good about the deck playing the tournament. At the end, the top eight, I just got a bad matchup where my deck also didn't function. I had this classic like I needed to brainstorm into like action and just draw like 3 days and die. Like this sometimes happens in Magic, and you just like lose. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, I lost against the four color pile. Yeah, Mango showing on the screen like the four color pile with rings, Moxayamon, Uros, like binding swords.
Yeah,
Like, definitely not a good matchup for Shadow. Obviously, could have won some games because Wastelands and the Palantir and the Cyborg and the such. But certainly, I did not expect too many of these decks. There were not too many of these decks in the tournament. There were a lot of like Grixis and Shadows. But yeah, I mean, it happened. Obviously sucks to lose, a tournament you're trying to win, but like it was a good tournament. I enjoyed playing Legacy. The games were actually quite fun. I played like a very, very intense match against Francone in the round three, I think, against Rixis. We played Shadow against Rixis, which is always tricky because it's both tempo decks, but they're built differently because as Shadow player, you have to like be careful with the life totals, but also if your shadow are small, your creatures are not large enough to win the game. So it's like this kind of balance where you have to, make sure you don't get grinded, but also not out tempoed. And yeah, I mean, I had some cool games. I do like how Legacy looks right now. It's honestly it's been fine for me since the iteration thing. I mean, it's been fine. I still feel like if Chalice of the Void is good, the format sucks. Chalice of the Void is still too good for my taste, but whenever there's no too many Chalices of the Void or I guess Ancient Tomb, I still find the matchups very fun.
yeah. So we were talking a lot about what decks to play and things like that, and I kind of was like, I don't know, you should play Shadow because I think that Blue Black Shadow is just very good deck right now. There's no more reason to play Expressive Iteration, and you are a very good Days Wasteland player. So I'm glad you ended up with Shadow. You started 4-0, which was a great. start, and then I don't know, you either lost or conceded round five. It doesn't matter that much, and then unfortunately you lost to Arcani in the top eight. But still, again, very good run and very very close to that that goal that never seems to realize that Mox
It doesn't. Yeah, it's
playoff.
never happened yet, but it's kind of fun in a way, you know. Like I like how the Mox keeps being a tournament that I cannot get to play even though I'm trying. But I really see the bright part of it. Like, they're like how it doesn't matter how much you play Magic. There's always a thing you don't have. Like there's always more to play for. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense there, but it's kind of special to me, and I don't mind having these there. So it's like a goal. I can just chase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember similar thing for me was the GP top eight for so long. For those of you to know, I
Yeah.
I played in over 70 GP and I got the top eight, the first top eight only in the last one, GP Bologna 2019, and then they kind of like shut off GP entirely. So I feel like I got my goal and then they just shut off the GP circuit basically.
Maybe you shut off the GPs by making the top it.
But yeah, so every GP was always exciting because I could get my first top eight and then I would lose terribly. So, next time and things like that. So maybe that could be the same to you. Eventually, you'll make the Mox playoff and they'll shut off Magic Online after.
Yeah, or not. Like if I don't make it, it's fine anyway. Like I know that if I make it, it's gonna be like just play another tournament, and that's fine. So the more special thing is like just getting there. The sensation of having the goal. Like at this point, I feel like to me, it's actually more important to be like this is a goal than the tournament itself in a way, because obviously the tournament is cool and it's large, but it's a tournament. I know how they are. I've been there a lot of times, right? So, but these kind of like goal where I would like to complete this path and get there, that's kind of exciting. So whenever I keep busting again and just keep being like, yeah, brainstorming into 3-0 lands, die. Because it's always legacy. To be fair, I have never been super close in another formats. I think I top it one standard, but like it's always legacy. I'm always like, yeah, it sucks, but also it's good to have this thing there. So I'm gonna try next time. We'll play the playoffs again. We'll not go for the leaderboard, but the showcases, yeah, I like them. It's good.
Yeah, the Mox Showcase final this time, the eighth player event will be Legacy, the constructed format. Yeah, no more modern and cube, vintage cube. I don't know what format of the cube will be, if it's legacy or vintage, but yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Uh,
Legacy Cube, Legacy Constructed will be the dream for me. Like, if I ever qualify for a Mox, I mean, that will be, like, for me, the perfect one to qualify, you know.
yeah, I was following you from the Carney's Discord, of course. I didn't do anything this weekend. It's way too hot to to do something over here, and I spent the whole time. Yeah, just at the beach and following. Actually, I did something that was very cool that reminded me of the past. There was the SCG coverage this weekend, and on Sunday night, it was amazing watching the. I watched the whole top four, six. I believe it's top six. They called it. Yeah, they had top six here, and it was very cool because the way lines up. It's like the time zone different. It's perfect for
Yeah.
the people who go to sleep at around like midnight. So you just get to enjoy the whole coverage.
You get the top 8, yeah, in the sleeping time. No,
From your bed,
yeah.
and it was a very good one. The team of Ben Vienburg beat the team of Corey, Bread, and Noah Walker. It was good magic, and also a great coverage team. I believe Dominic Harvey and Andrew Ellen Bogan commentated. I mean, commentary being good, it's also it makes the show very good
It makes a whole difference to me. Like, it does change the whole thing, uh, from my perspective.
for sure.
Like,
Yeah, they were like so knowledgeable of every format. They were just moving through Pioneer Legacy and Modern, knowing exactly what was going on.
it's
And
hard to know all the formats enough to know what's going on while actually being like good at talking. And I didn't watch it, but if that was the case, I think that is a very good job. Like when
yeah,
this happens, I think it's great.
Yeah, the coverage was brought by Anzi D. He's been doing this job where he just travels to events, arrange, I think through Discord with for example Andrew and Don. And yeah, I mean he's been like thanking all the Patreon and people that support the coverage. That was good. That was definitely a good Sunday evening to start to go back and play some Magic after a weekend of relax and not that much Magic because I actually tweeted about it something like during the weekend I just forced myself out of my house because I feel like if I'm at my house I have to think about some ways of making content, what I'm gonna do the next week to make content, and like get things together. So which is kind of work. I mean, it is
It is
work.
work.
So I
You're
just
a workaholic
yeah, yeah, yeah.
by the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all just so like this weekend I stayed home only only to sleep basically because otherwise it's just so hard to.
That's logical, right?
But
That's
yeah,
something. Like if I stay at home, like when if I have to take a break from Magic, I cannot really take it from home. I just go out. Like I'm not. If I stay 2 days in my home, I'm at some point gonna be like, thinking something about Magic. So I think that's a good thing. By the way, also about talking about this tournament, it was cool for me for a personal level to see like players like Gary or Brad, being back because Brad, I played with him for a bunch of PTs. We prepared together, and he kind of quit playing. And I've been talking with him the last PTs. We talk like some minutes each tournament, and it's good to see him going back into the tournament and just being able to do well. Like also Gary.
yeah. I mean,
The all faces, the familiar faces. No, it's it was good for me to see on Twitter they were doing the thing, just having this tweet like, yeah, we are 8-1, whatever. I like
team
that.
tournaments are just the best.
They are absolutely.
That's it.
No, they are. They
That's
are.
it.
No, that
Like
yeah, they are.
like Magic is an individual game, so we have this thing where you go to a tournament by yourself. Sure, you practice with people, with teams, but at the end of the day, it's just you versus your opponent, and your team doesn't matter anymore when round one starts. But the team events instead is great because you still very bond to your team. You can still help them. You can still like joy with them. If like honestly, the best feeling like of a team tournament is when you lose and your team wins. Like you just finish that round and you're just so incredibly happy that it's just a normal win in a one versus one tournament will never give you that feeling. And you actually lost, like your match. And that's something that I just we did the team together. It was me and you and Alfred at the Four Seasons last time, and I had that happening to me twice. I lost the round, and you guys won, so we ended up winning the round. And I was just so happy, like so happy.
I remember you being like, "Yeah, I lost, but we won."
Yeah, I was getting Doomsday in the vintage seat while you were winning. So. But yeah, so I'm always so happy to see more and more team events, and it's cool to see that SNG Con is like 25K tournament, which is
That's large, actually. That's pretty big.
it's a lot of it's a lot of money for a Magic tournament these days. Which you know how it goes. If you travel, it's very hard to come across these tournaments, and being team is great. Actually,
First place 75K. That's pretty good.
yeah, next weekend in Barcelona, the GP, the sealed GP is gonna be a 75K sealed event
Yeah,
with
that's
prize up to top 96. That's very cool. I'm doing a lot of sealed in practice for that one. Meanwhile, you'll start the Pro Tour on next Friday. Not this one, the next one. I'll be doing the sealed. Yeah,
we will be both
cool.
opening cards at about the same time, I assume. Hopefully, open some
Yeah.
bombs.
Yeah, hopefully own some bombs. Again, next week we're not going to do the podcast because we'll be both in testing houses. Javier with Team Handshake. I'm with Team Worldly Council, which is the team held by Zen Takahashi, and yeah, very many cool people and nice people I've had the pleasure to stay with and chat with this week's. Something that I really enjoy testing. Like the testing house is great, but also just having a team to just talk to constantly leading up to the event. It kind of like leaves you up with a void when the event is over. Like you don't have any more somebody to just wake up and check what the Americans wrote in the Discord while you were asleep. And it's just always fun to do things like that.
Sometimes it's from my perspective. Sometimes you wake up, you see the Discord, and you're like, I'm gonna check the messages, and just say like 423 new messages, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna get a shower and then I will check them because I'm not gonna remember anything. If it's like more than 100 in a thread, I just like delay for the next task. Like
Yeah,
sometimes
I
there's
have
a
the
lot
same,
of information.
I have the same feeling in our Discord. Sometimes you and Anthony just talk forever, and it's like 200 messages, and it's just you two talking back and forth.
I
I
mean,
just,
it's a Discord.
yeah.
It's meant to be used to talk. Like
No, no, I know, I know, I know.
it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I want to play a team tournament now. Like this week, I
yeah,
was left with
no,
like
for sure.
I know we played the four season side event or whatever, but I actually would like to play like a large team. Like I understand they're not great because some people actually struggle at finding teams or whatever. Like team events always leave some people not playing the event for that reason. Not us, but I understand that. I mean, a friend told me explain me this like, and that makes sense. If you're not very much inside the community, but you like to play competitively, team tournaments are less appealing to you, right? Or might be less appealing to you because you're like less likely to win a tournament if you don't have like connections for to make a team or whatever. You also might not be like a team player or whatever. Like there's a lot of different reasons. That said, I would love to have like this tournament like this, in Spain, Italy, or whatever. I think we will easily go, right, Mengu?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, at this event, they had 381 people if you take all the teams, the multiply by three, which is, I think, a sizable amount for the SCG event, which, I think it's might be above average for their numbers. So I think
Still,
that they were accepted. Like, it's not that, oh, it's a team event, so they got less players. I think they might even get more players
but it's
overall.
it's less people than Four Seasons or whatever, right? Still,
Yeah, but in America, I feel like they always have, whenever they do these tournaments, it's always less people than the LMS or Four Season. I don't know.
what
Like
what
they
do
have
you what do
huge
you think
regional
that
championships.
what do you think is that maybe it's because it's not in the same place again and again because I think that helps a lot tournaments like the Four Seasons or whatever
Mm.
the impact. I think these tournaments are helped by the fact that they are like each
I
same
think.
place every time.
Mm, I think that the reason is that in America they have even local events are actually large. Like you might have, I don't know, a 5K in a store or things like that. Whereas in Europe, you just don't have that. In Europe, you have big events only once in a while, and you have to travel, like
Yeah.
take the plane and the flight and whatever. Whereas maybe in America, they had many good events throughout the country this weekend, and you just I don't want to take a flight to Cincinnati because I have another 5K in my store. So I think they in America they always had like a lot. Um, yeah, this is my theory. Maybe if you disagree, you're very good to share it with you in the YouTube comments or
No, but
wherever
that,
you want.
makes perfect sense. Yeah, like us, yeah, here it's more like either you play like a Pauper or whatever, or you play like your 20 people, €5 local store tournament. There's not like
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we don't like. I mean, community. I think people here don't actually like to play large tournaments in our like every Saturday or whatever. Like if you make a store, even a big one like in Barcelona or whatever, if you make a random Saturday €30 tournament with good prices, maybe people will not like to show up. Maybe they're just like prefer to have like this cheap tournament for us like low prices or whatever because they just want to spend their Saturday. I don't know. Like maybe we as a culture want more to just spend the day other than just fighting for prices. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like when they raise the prices, like the LMS costing €100 or just GPs when they cost €70, a lot of people don't come anymore. Like for example, the GP Seal
Mm-hmm.
is like it's like €200 basically because you have to pay the entry fee and you have to pay the tournaments, and a lot of people, I feel like in Europe, not that happy to pay that amount. But I guess that's just everywhere, right? Like
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't think
it's
American they're happy to pay.
well,
I don't know how much this event costed, but I remember when I went to SCG Dallas, it was $85.
But you're
So
getting good
yeah,
price. Like if my perception is that
yeah, yeah,
out of
yeah.
if you getting you pay more, but you get a good ratio on the price, that's fine. I will say, right? Like that. I mean, for me that would be fine, and for a lot of players are, but some players will not like that, even if even if the proportion is better for them. They just don't
I
want to spend
understand.
this money because they just want to spend the Saturday out of work and just having fun with playing some Magic. So they don't know to feel. They don't want to like be like playing for a top eight of a big tournament. They just want to play this store tournament. There's gonna be 5 rounds to just go back home, and that's fine. And
Yeah,
I think that's very
this is
popular
something.
here, right?
Yeah, this is something that me and you disagreed with as well. Like, I don't really care about winning 2K or 1K or 500. I just like to just be in a tournament the whole day, finishing the tournament, and split and go home because I'm happy. I did the thing, and this is for example, Pauper as well. We split the top eight. I was super happy. I believe they also split the top eight at MS Bologna. Like I feel like it's something that I'm happy to do, and I'll keep on doing it as long as I'm given the option. Whereas a player like you might disagree, and I know a lot of people out there just want to get that first prize, like the whole thing. They don't want to settle on a split with other players and things like that.
I don't know if we have talked about this in the podcast. Have we? I don't remember. I know we have personally talked about this a lot, but I don't know if in.
There's no Anthony, so we could never talk about these topics with Anthony because it's money and money to everybody. Oh, today on stream I was like all about Soren's ransom and all the finance around it. It was fun.
MTG Finance. I mean, it's
Yeah.
never. It's actually not about the money to me. It's about the matches. Just to be clear, like I am one of those players that gets like for me the best rounds to play usually are the matches for top eight and the finals in a way. Like I just feel like playing these matches where there's like a stake that feels important to me. Maybe the stake is just playing the top eight or whatever. That's very intense, and the later you go into a tournament, the more intense these matches become. So for me, playing the semifinals of a big tournament, that's already a prize. Like I'm getting a life enjoyment that's very high for me for playing that match. So if I split, it's like I'm not splitting in an even way because I'm losing the part that I already am more passionate about. Just playing that semifinals or playing that finals. So that's why I don't really like splitting this kind of events. But I understand like if you're playing for the prize, like if your pricing is important to you, so it's actually the opposite. It's not like I care about the price that much. I actually care about the experience more. So it's never like because if, for example, like there was like a big slot for the winner or whatever, like a Waltz slot, I would not mind actually splitting prices in that situation, as long as we get to play full forced. Like I also don't want to play against people that do not care. Like these matches, the one of the special things these matches have often is that, of course, you're tense because you're playing this final with a big prize or whatever, but your opponent is also playing that big final, so they're also caring a lot about this. So you're getting the best of your opponent as well, right? So yeah, I don't want to explain too much because I think we already talked about this a little bit, but like that's for me. That's the difference between me and Mango. But it's not about like the price. It's about like he said, like yeah, he make top eight, he's happy, but I just leave. But for me, it's like I make top eight. My thinking is like, okay, we're in top eight. This is where the actual best part of it starts. Like it's not the end. It's like what happens before the actual best part, which is displaying the top eight match or whatever. Or I guess the win and in also counts, but you know, it's not
Mhm.
that much. But it's definitely not about like the price itself or something because most of the events have like smallish prices, even though sometimes they feel intense. Smallish in terms of like they're not like life changing or anything. It's not like I'm not talking about winning a PT or I'm talking about like just making top eight in one event that we play. So I mean, I don't really play that
For
many
sure.
small events right now. But if I go to Four
Four
Seasons, yeah, like
seasons.
for me
Yeah.
playing the Win and In for Four Seasons, it is an intense match, and
Yeah.
it's large enough for me to be intense. But it could be as intense if the price was a little bit higher, or a little bit lower. It doesn't change the intensity for me.
Let's
Yeah.
let's share this. Let's share the story of last per season. I don't think we did. We were both 6-2, and they had prizes for top 32. And you came to me. I'm like, are you IDing the last round? Because our tiebreakers probably we cannot make top 16. So if we ID, we get top 32 locked. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. I was just going to play. So I just sat down at the table. But I think I said to you something like,
No,
oh, usually I don't.
you said
Yeah.
I'm not gonna draw. I'm gonna play. That's what you said.
Yeah, I usually just play because whatever,
Yeah,
right?
you said I'm
But
gonna
then
play.
like
Whatever. That's what you
yeah, I
said.
sat down. I sat down. I checked the standings, and that was very true. Like what you said. If I win, I never make the top 16, and if I lose, I go out of top 32. So I just like, it makes a lot of sense. That's ID, and I made like 25. I put him at 24th. Whereas you, I believe you played,
I did
and
play, yeah,
yeah,
but it
tell,
was a very good
and
match.
you're,
But I was playing like
and
the
remember,
Sky control deck, and I was playing against Yorion,
I,
which is like a bad matchup. And like I actually wanted to get better with the Yeska deck, so I felt like playing a bad matchup in a round 9 of a tournament was very good training rounds. So I decided to, you know,
but I remember I stand up and I see that you're shuffling and I come to you and I say, oh, I drew, and you go like, ah.
no, but it was a good decision. I think that was a very landing match. So
Yeah,
too bad
that
they
was
printed the org by masters, and then
orc.
all my testing goes away. But I really like that
Although
Yeska deck. Like this, I was ready to play the Yeska control deck in the showcase. To be fair, like that's why I tested so much with it.
although the Jiskai deck, I don't know if you saw it, but the team winner had Arthur Marshall, I believe is his name, and he won the thing, and he posted on Twitter that he went 6-0 against that Shadow.
I mean,
So
this
the
deck used to beat Shadow so much that I can believe that maybe orcs are good against this deck, but maybe they're not as good because the matchup was good enough. So maybe Jeskai was fine against Shadow. Like
yeah,
Jeskai was like Shadow. I mean, and that for seasons actually played against Sui Shadow, and it's just like a very good matchup because they just like run into your plan. I don't think the staff is very good. It's not very good against orcs and not great against the rest. I mean, it's not that bad against orcs, I guess. But at this point, I feel like maybe there's a way to build Jeskai that doesn't really lose that much against the, like the orcs. Throwable spells now are there. You also playing paper, so you can play Comet over the Emperor, which is not very good again. I mean, there's probably a way to build it. To build. Also, you have Blood Moons if you want to play. If you, like all the orc decks are kind of weak against Blood Moon in a way, so there's
yeah.
some things to do. If I had more time for the mocks, I might. There's a wall where I was not qualified for the PT, and I would have tried a lot, and I maybe would have ended playing something like Jeska deck adapted to beat orcs. But the issue is these kind of decks, if you don't surgically like craft the perfect plan, if you go a little bit off, you can just destroy the deck, and then it becomes like semi dysfunctional in some cyber games specifically, and that's something I didn't want to happen to me. So I just stick to the tempo deck. But I can see how you could beat a control deck that's actually good against the orcs decks. Not because the orcs are not going to be good against you, just because if you make the deck hard enough, but bad enough against you, their deck, orcs are not like orcs are good, okay, but they are not Narset. This is like something I have learned this weekend, playing especially the leagues before the mocks and Sunday and such. Like, it's not like because with Narset or whatever, if you have an Narset, they play Ponder, the game's over, right? Like it's you just lose. But if you're playing like I don't know, a combo deck or even a control deck, like you have the orcs, sure, you play a Ponder. So what happens is Ponder makes you lose one life and put a 1/1 counter on the creature. Does it sound that bad? Like, is the
Yeah.
difference between Night Whispers and Divination that huge to like obviously it's a difference, right? But like you're taking 2 life, most likely. Uh it's not let's say I overstated like the impact from that orc has against decks like combo decks or even control decks that are like good enough at killing the creatures is way lower than I will expect. This is not like a tempo matchup where if you play a brainstorm against orcs, you're dead. Like I had the games against show and tell. Like I had orcs. Like they play brainstorm, I play orc. Fine, they take 3 and then tap and kill me. Like it's not like are not Narset. They are like maybe this is you think it's wrong, but they felt a little bit of like a one-sided Eidolon of the Great Rebel, or like you could call it like a 2-mana She-Aldred. right? Like it's between a one-sided Eidolon or a two-mana Sheoldred. But it's
Yeah.
definitely not like a Narset. It's not a Hull Breaker, Hull Breacher. I never get
Hull
this.
Breacher,
Hull
Hull
Breacher.
Breacher.
It's not a Hull Breacher. We have played Hull Breacher in Vintage, and we know how the card works. And on paper, you can think Orc is like a Hull Breacher. It's a two-mana Hull Breacher. It is not a two-mana Hull Breacher, and the physics of its gameplay, it's very different because it's actually not as good as it looks at attacking the card draw engines. Like if I'm brainstorming into a Wrath of God, I take 3, that's fine. But if I Wrath of God, it's over. Like if I ponder into a Supreme Verdict and then play Verdict that turn, your Super Bomb Orc that you have warped your deck to play is dealing 1 damage, 2 damage total. That's it. That's
Yep.
that's 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 no big deal. You know what I mean? So I
Yep.
think we're now on the surface of really, at least myself, understanding the orcs. But my impression is that the card is kind of overrated in that way, in terms of like metagame positioning. I don't think that really translates into what we saw in the mocks. Like some, like for example, Binu was playing 3, of course, in the painter, but that makes sense. But also like the second place finisher, I think was also played 3 only. I'm acknowledging it was a good card, but also like a liability for the deck. In a way where it's good to have it, but also if you rely too much on them, they are not a Hull Breacher. Like they will not change the game dramatically against Candraves, and they will mostly like you're never gonna get the, like it's not easy to get the brainstorming response orc. Like your opponent's already gonna play the brainstorms main phase, right? So it's not very easy to actually get them that way unless they're forced to do so. And the cards that are good against your deck are good against orcs if you're playing like an aggro deck. It's different if you play like, depths with orcs. That's different in a way. But like, it's, to me, I think like the complications of the card in the metagame are gonna be lower than it will look. Like this is not exactly a Ragavan type of card. It's a very unique card, so I'm not really exactly to decide like how I feel about it, but more or less those are my thoughts on the card and how it impacts the game, and also how it impacts legacy. That's my monologue
That's a
about
good.
about the orc. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a no. That was great. Like, maybe some people don't play Legacy, but like you can see that in Modern a little bit as well with the Orc right now. Like some decks just you know you can take some damage off of it, but then like you still make your plan and you go on. And in Legacy, that's just to the next level because, as you said exactly, like there is a show and tell deck in the where is it in the 11th place, and you can easily just cantrip. Actually, speaking of that deck doesn't play any Ponder or Brainstorm, so maybe they actually played around the Orc in that way. But like you could cantrip into your show and tell Omniscience Emrakul, and just doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's a very good point. I love to listen to that one. A card that basically rotated out of Legacy is the Baleful Strix.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Your shadow deck used to play Baleful Strix, and now you just can never do that
Yeah, I
anymore.
think it's soft ban. Like the cards is like too bad against orcs. Like even the cards like Delver, DRC, if you don't play whatever, you can get them like to good place. But Biology Strix is like sitting there forever. Yeah, I think Strix is gonna be like unplayable as long as the orc is
What
legal. I will even
about
say like.
What about Brazen Borrower?
So Brazen Borrower in Tempo decks is not exact like the face card, like the 3/1 card is obviously bad against the orcs for obvious reasons, but it was never like the matchups where the 3/1 is very important are not very likely the matchups where like where they play orcs. Like Borrower is there in the main deck to be the best answer you can have against both Morted Region, Chalice of the Void, while also being a threat against combo decks. Like it's the very best card and specifically doing this job. Like against on orc decks, you will like you're trying to never play this card because that's your answer to Morted. Then you play main deck in both Delver and Shadow deck. So it's only bad against orcs if they play Morted, you bounce Morted, and then after that you play the Borrower and they play orcs, which is kind of a small window. And it's a card like ideally you never played in the mirror match as a creature. It's like until it's very very late. So that was not a very big concern as far as like it's just a card like you don't want to draw there, but if you draw it's fine. But I think the cards are still very legal. I like Strix, I will say.
Because I've played a couple of leagues with Grixis Delver. I even wrote an article for CFB, which I'm now scrolling through. And I started with Jarvis U deck, and he had two power in the sideboard. My thought was that they basically come in and very often, mostly against decks that don't play Orc, or of course, like if you have to bounce like a Chance of the Void or a Mark Lage or whatever. But I feel like maybe main deck that weren't as good as they are bad to the Shadow and Mirror matches of Orcs.
Well, that's the difference here, and the difference is the Shadow deck is way more vulnerable to decks like the Chalice deck than Delver is. Because a way to beat the Chalice decks or the Blood Moon decks or the Ancient Tomb decks with Delver is like you go land Delver on the play, and maybe they go Ancient Tomb Chalice, and you just like let it resolve, attack for three times, and daze a spell and forward spell, and you won the game. Like we've been there a lot of times, right? We've both been there with DRC and Delver playing 8 1-drops. That's an actual fine way to Chalice, even though it doesn't look like that. It is. Plus, he also plays the Force of Negation. But in Shadow, you actually lack that ability. Like you cannot play 1-drop on the play. You have like none at all. So it's actually impossible to go under the Chalice, which makes it so you have more pressures to have an answer to it. That's my reason to play Borrower in Shadow, while I will agree actually and not play it in the Delver deck.
I wanna ask you a question about the Badlands because Jarvis was playing one Badland in the space of the fourth Vulcan Wasteland, saying that basically you want to have an additional red or black source. For example, on turn two, sometimes you might need double red. But I felt that for Wasteland is just. Let me check how many were you playing, but I'm assuming you were playing four. Yeah. So I feel like Wasteland is just a card that if your deck decided to play it, it must be a 4-up because Urza Saga is just so good. You need to waste it. And when I was playing my Sultai deck, I remember people played three, but I went immediately up to four. And I feel like playing four Wasteland ended up with like Delver and DRC just is wrong. Maybe you want to cut a fetch land for a Badlands if you really like Badlands, but yeah. So my idea is to play four Wasteland. What do you think of?
Well, funnily enough, I agree with you both. Like, I think Wasteland now. So, Wasteland, I've always been a big fan of Wasteland. I think it's one of the reasons for this kind of deck to be good. But specifically now, it's even better than before because Bowmasters make the mirror match a little bit heavier. Like before it was a crossing 1-drops, but now there's another 2-drop in the mix. It's more tight plus Bowmaster. That's 8 to 7 2-drops, which makes the decks quite heavier. So Wasteland's much better. So I will not like to play a 4 like less than 4 Wastelands in a tempo meter like ever. I never liked it, but nowadays, I think it's even more important than ever. So I will absolutely lock into 4 Wastelands, but at the same time, because of how the Bowmasters work, they try to draw games. Like, if you play Bowmasters and your opponent plays a Bowmasters well, you kind of like lose big time, right? Like, you get destroyed. In that exchange, that's very bad for you. You need something like a Resolve or Murtide to be ahead after that situation, otherwise it's going to be hard to get back into the game. So what happens often is like you do like the game because you have 2 mana and you have orcs, but if you play them and your opponent goes like orcs and then days and you have the days as well, like you lose a lot. So in practice we often see like more long games, but we still need the mana. So now, before Delver, you can be with 2 lands and you still have a great game, but now you kind of want to hit the 3rd and sometimes the 4th land, even though it's not exactly to cast a big spell, just like because you can cast multiple spells on those big turns. Like maybe you're gonna go like Orc, they go Orc, and then you brainstorm in response, and then there's their Orc, whatever. So I agree you need more mana, but I also agree you don't want to cut Wasteland. So what I did, if you look at my deck list, I just added 1 more source. In terms of like, I just add a troll in this case, but if it was not a troll, yeah. So I have 20 lands total instead of 19, and that's how I solved this issue because I really wanted both things to happen. I went through this process and I was like, orcs also make it so the game's done. So it's easier to actually get into a position where you're just so ahead you will not lose, even if it's not very fast. So flooding is less of a concern in that sense. So that's why I managed to put 1 more land. And specifically in this deck, I will probably cut probably the 2nd Delver of Secrets for like a land. Like I will put 1 more mana source. I think the mana sources now are like more important than before because Orc is not only a 2-drop, but also a 2-drop that actually tends to delay the game more, but be demanding of mana at the same time. It could be learning
Can
revealed.
the
It can definitely be learning
yeah
revealed, but I think Legacy it's gonna be rough to cast it for 5. But it's still like as a blue land that pitches, it's good. Yeah, actually, it could be golden revealed because it can also search for the either dual land. I think
yeah
right. So
to the listeners, Lore Revealed is the new card that is popping out in Pauper and Modern. It's a 5 mana sorcery, draw 3 cards, island cycling 1. So just like Javier played the troll 4 copies in his shadow deck, but obviously played those because you have reanimate. So you can go for the troll turn 1, turn 2, just reanimate. Sure, you take a lot of damage, but you have a 6/5 triple menace in play. And, Lure Reveal costs 5, and you said it's very hard to do. But we all cast Force of
yeah,
Will
yeah,
in,
you could
in
cast it,
Legacy.
and if you cast it the Legacy, it's gonna be great. No, I actually think this is a great idea, Mengu. Like I will probably cut one Delver for one golden revealed and see from there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think this is now a nice section into modern where I can talk a little bit about Lore Revealed and how much this card is now showing up in modern in like almost every deck from Blue Red Murktide, Blue Black Murktide, and Team Rhinos. Have all these decks done well this weekend. And today I was playing Blue White Control on stream. I got paired against Ilnano on Blue Black Control, and he just kept casting Lore Revealed at some point in the game, and I was just dead. I was just dead. Like I just lost to Lore Revealed Hardcast, both games, and I felt like, well, I can also be putting Lure Revealed in my blue white control deck, and you can ask this question now to like every deck you're playing in. It's just like, especially if you have Force of Negation, Subtlety, in Legacy, you have in this deck. Force of Will, of course, and Force of Negation. So Lure Reveal just does it all. I posted a screenshot on Twitter the other day where my Lure Reveal was hardcasted, was pitched, and it gave me the double blue when I had Blood Moon in play, and I drew it later. So it just did it all in a single game. I have 3 copies of it, and so it's definitely a card that is just a common. And we've seen how the Generous End and Oleophant, which are the green and the red one, are being huge in Legacy in Living End. The black one sees played in Legacy. The blue one is seeing played in every format. The white one, unfortunately, is just probably the only one that's never gonna see play. But I don't
Poor
know.
chickens of the north. They are not.
The Eagles of the
Maybe in
North.
Pauper. By the way, there was also the Pauper Showcase this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, we can talk.
The last important Pauper tournament for a while, I will assume,
We
because
can talk.
it rotates from the mock schedule after this, so we can talk about
Mm.
this also.
Yeah, we can talk about this also, but yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention the modern shakeup that have happened in the weekend, which is mostly this new deck that has arisen, which is playing also Sauron's Ransom. This card spiked from 50 cents to €10, and it's probably going to go up even more than that. It's a manufactured fiction, aka also known as expressive iteration with instant speed. This is how I've been calling it on my stream. It's a clear card advantage. It puts your opponent into this like, how do I make the pile? So if you put in my make mistakes, you can get 3 cards on turn 3 sometimes. Also, they don't know your hand. Sometimes when you cast this card, you might know this with like, the 4 mana card. What was it called? The one where your opponent chooses a
Gifts and
card.
given.
No, Karn. The 4 mana Karn. The
Big boy
the one
Karn.
the one you tick up and you
Yeah,
reveal 2 cards and your opponent gives you one. And your opponent doesn't know your hand. So sometimes people always assume you have lands in hand. You just always end up just playing Soren's Ransom is always gonna give you lands, and like it's so good to cast Soren's Ransom when you don't have lands in hand
yeah.
because your opponent's gonna always put lands with the weaker
Get
cards.
some
It's
lands.
just yeah, and also like you can level your opponent, but also you can get leveled. It's very tricky, very good. At the end of the day, it's gonna give you 2 cards, and in formats with like Mystic Sanctuary, like Legacy, you can put it back on top. In formats like Modern, you can use this card to refuel your Force of Negation Subtlety deck. So yeah, I really like Soren's Ransom. This deck has been updating over and over. I believe that it did well in a couple of events, and this one was actually the version I copied, the one by Soambaglade. It actually the deck comes from Talisker, one of our Patreon, and he has been very high on the whole deck list. It started with Thoughtseize, and now I cut Thoughtseize. I really do not like Thoughtseize, so I'm happy that they moved away from it. This deck is also playing Shieldred the Apocalypse, which is one of the few Modern was just one of the few formats that was not touched by Shieldred, but now thanks to the ring, you actually get to do some real value with it because you have like a ring on 3 counters. You're afraid of dying to your own ring. You have all these cards in hand. You just play Shieldred, tap the ring. Your opponent plays Terminate or whatever. You counterspell. You just gain 8 life. The game is over. So Shieldred is important in this deck because it just closes the game. Basically, it's like Omnath, but obviously you can't cast Omnath in a blue-black deck, so. I like this deck, and I'm expecting this deck to be. I mean, I say this all the time, but like the best Murktide region deck might be. It might be. It was maybe blue or Murktide, maybe Team Rhinos, or maybe this blue black deck. Um, yeah, I think that this is definitely the biggest takeaway modern. And again, next week we're not gonna be here, and then there will be the Pro Tour. So we're gonna come the next episode of the Carnies with Javier and maybe Anthony, and we're gonna be focused on Modern, 100%, talking about everything, and it's gonna be great. I look forward to that a lot.
I will finally be able to speak about modern.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so let's talk about. Let's finish the podcast with a little bit of Pauper talking, shall we?
I have a surprise for you.
Uh,
Uh, I'm gonna buy a Pauper deck. I actually bought it. I will.
what is it? Blue
I will. I
black?
will show you once it's here. I just
Are you also coming to Rome in November for the Pauper Garden?
I don't know, but if I have
The,
a,
ne-
if
the
I,
next Pro Tour, it's in February, so I
yeah,
think you have very few
I
excuses.
might actually. I might, Mengu. I mean, I don't need excuses to not go to tournaments, but I might.
So
I like that event.
it's it's a 3 days event. On Friday there will be a Team Pauper unified.
Wow. Okay,
On
maybe I come.
on Saturday it's a 2 days event. So the day one, day two, and it's in a very good location. I hope it's a Hotel Mercure. So there's like the hotel, like a 4 stars hotel, and then location in the same thing. And yeah, I think I mean I don't even know if I was supposed to say this whole things, but I hope so. I hope I was. I hope I
Yeah, I
was.
hope you were. I don't know. Just make sure they're legal to be said.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
fine.
it's
It's fine. I'm just doing some like free publicity, free advertisement. I'm sure they'll be happy.
Anyway, I might. I'm just gonna have a Pauper deck. Like I feel like I mean, they play. So apparently they play Pauper here in my town. There was a tournament in my town. I didn't know about it the other day. Like there's some Magic community here. There's some play paper, so might as well just have a deck just in case I wanna go play with them. So I don't have to borrow decks every time. So that I mean they're also cheap because it's Pauper. Like MTG Finance,
I
it's like very cheap. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're
How
all cheap.
like when you said your town, do you mean Palau or Barcelona?
Palau, my town is Palau de Plegamans. That's where I live.
Wow.
Palau. Yeah, yeah. There's Pauper players here in Palau. Also Commander players. They also play Pioneer a little bit, but like mostly Pauper, I think. I know there's some small community here. So I thought like might as well just have a deck just to play with them
That's
sometimes.
cool.
So
That's cool.
that's actually why I bought it. But figured you will also like the that I'm gonna own a physical Pauper deck. Maybe
Is
two
it?
even.
Oh, actually, so you didn't tell me what it is. So it could be something like
Okay,
Alter
it's not
Tron
going
too.
it's not going to be blue red, blue black because this deck is a normal. Like
Okay.
I already probably have most of these cards. Like if
Okay, then I'm gonna bet on Altartron.
you will know next time. I will actually
I'm
show
gonna,
it to you. I will probably post it instead in the Carnage Discord. Yeah,
did you see that the blue black terror deck got upgraded with Lure revealed as well?
that's what he
Snuffling the
played in the
four
showcase.
up.
That's what he played in the showcase challenge, actually. And what I told here, I think I messed up a match. Like I was 5-1 and just throw away
Yeah,
one. I thought the deck was
yeah,
very good, but that's too normal. Like I already own
but
all those cards, so you will see.
yeah,
You will
the
see. You guessed.
okay,
Maybe you guessed right. Maybe you guessed wrong. Who knows?
yeah. So the winner of the showcase is back off on blue white Coggates, the list that I played like last year, basically. Like this is no new cards. Like one casting to the fire. It's crazy to me.
It's crazy. I mean, also a lot of Pauper topic. Like the topic decks didn't have that many new cards though, did they? Like we had like the
It
Learning
didn't.
Revealed Blue Black, of course, that's a big upgrade. That's it. The Infinity decks had the same. There's like mono white deck also doesn't have any like Lord of the Rings card, anything. Just like the same. It's always been. Pauper is this time. Pauper was not broken. Apparently, supposed to any other time they print a broken card that's good for Pauper. This time it's just fine, which is a good
I
thing.
believe Affinity's no Affinity's not playing any Lambas.
No, why will Lembas be a good
No new.
affinity?
I don't know. Game 3 life burn is good.
Maybe I still don't get why Lembas will be good. But overall in the
Game 3
format,
life.
some people play them. Yeah, I think Getting Life is good in Pauper, but so it's always card advantage. All
Okay,
right.
so you don't play out. You don't play. You didn't buy Altertron. Otherwise, you would play Lambas in that deck.
Why? No.
Oh, well, I'm getting some clues here.
No. I'm not that kind. You guessed. You will see if you know if.
Yeah. No, the so yeah, this blue white gaze, eh? No Lauren reveal as well. This deck looks like a fine Lauren reveal deck. Maybe
Maybe
not.
not really though. I think Ron Revealed, if you don't have any synergies, it's not like a good of a
Yeah.
card. Like this is a tempo deck. Like you want to play your cards on curve or whatever. Ron Revealed is good if you have Terran and Terror or whatever. Like if you don't, it's not. As Rainstorm at least. Like it's good with Rainstorm, but it's not good with. I mean, Squadron Hawk. It doesn't really want you to play Lauren Revealed. I will not play Lauren. I mean, maybe one, but I actually think that the White Chicken might be better in this deck than the Lorien. If you think about it.
The 6 mana
Yeah, you pump the cats and the
Galotan
hogs.
Lord.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose one, I would play the chicken. Yeah, just saying. Anyway, by the way, one small brief comment is like another Pioneer tournament, this team tournament, another like blue white Lotus Field there on top. Just saying, that's
Yeah,
and and then some of the on
yeah.
the high tables like mono green and blue white seem like the most successful decks in Pioneer in this weekend. Just saying like
Yeah,
this you know, it's a
we didn't
change.
talk about Pioneer, but I believe Karsten posted a an interesting an interesting tweet where he ranked up all the results from the regional championships and he put them all together. And the most successful deck of that was Rack the Sacrifice, which also ended up winning the team event. I mean, the seat, but Rack the Sacrifice overall, out of over 140, 1,400 matches, had a 57 win percentage at the regional championship level. So
That's a lot.
this is super impressive. Like the sample size is huge. We're not talking about like the sample size of Rakdos mid range, which we often talk to when like you and Anthony tell me to not play it. Rakdos mid range had a sample size of over 4,000 matches, and it had a 48 win percentage for 4,000 matches. Of again, this should be like a good level of play because it's not like the arena ladder or things like that. This is the regional championship of the Pro Tour cycle. So this data that I can add to the show notes, but again, I'm showing it on YouTube. It's definitely a very good data for Pioneer if you're still like interested in RCQ or the RC. The next one will be Pioneer. So this is definitely an important thing. Obviously, will change with the new set. The what's it called? Eldraine, Wilds of Eldraine, I believe it's going to be legal for the next regional championship. So things might change, but I think this is a very important sequence of. So again, for those who are not watching, we have Raptor Sacrifice, then we have Mono Red Atarka Red,
Yeah, but it's
second.
70 matches. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, 70 matches sample size,
It's
sure.
nothing.
And then we have Azure Spirit, super high. Azure's Luscious Field, also very high, of course. Mono Green, Mono White Humans, and then it's kind of like some small decks, but overall, this is. But yeah, most of the decks have below 50% win rate. It's
There's
kind of
one thing
impressive.
here that you can read. We can read from this data, and it's like surprisingly enough, like most of the different, like the edge sacrifice gets from Rakdos midrange to become the actual best deck. It's mostly just because of the clash, the data clash. Like if you swapped the matchup between midrange and sacrifice, midrange could be the best deck, and the other way around. Like if you look at the rest of the metagame spread, the matchups between sacrifice and midrange, they're kind of similar if you combine them, right?
Sorry, I don't understand. What are you talking
What I'm
about?
saying is like the difference between like Ragdos sacrifice is like the best deck, and Ragdos midrange is like a 48, like the biggest loser in a way, after creativity or whatever. but they are actually very similar if you combine most of the matchups. If you ignore the mirror match, but it
Oh,
is a mirror match where it actually like where Sacrifice gets the edge over mid range, and since they are very like the, that's a huge difference. That's just
yeah.
like that's what that makes sense, right? Because Sacrifice slowly became sort of similar to like adding Thoughts and the such. It just became similar to Rakdos mid range, but it still kept the upper hand in the mirror match. I wonder though, like if that's the case, this could be less true in the later stages of the RCs compared to the earlier. I assume because in the later stages, the Rakdos decks will actually have better tools against Sacrifice that they did not have in the beginning. So this difference might be even be larger actually. That's in that sense,
I
like real
I
difference.
have a question. I have a question. So I remember in a few podcasts ago, Anthony said that he chose to play Blue Eye Control to beat Rakdos Sacrifice. But here the data says that Rakdos Sacrifice is 64% against Control. Do you think is that because the list of Blue Eye Control were bad? Because Blue Eye Control had a good overall percentage. Like Blue Eye Control is 51% out of a 1,500 matches. So
I have an answer for
I feel
this.
like okay.
I do know the answer to this one. So if you go and look to the Sacrifice deck list nowadays, like they are like for example the first one on the top eight in the tournament. It's like 4 Thoughtseize, 3 Claim to Firstborn, and the sideboard's actually like the sideboard is morphing the deck into like 6 discard spells and some threats that are hard for control. This is not the Sacrifice deck we had half a year ago. Like the addition of Thoughtseize and cutting cards like Claim the Firstborn and Lucky Witness, not all of them, but like some of them. That this is just what I said 1 minute ago. Like the deck now, Sacrifice deck now looks more like a mid-range deck, like a Rakdos mid-range deck that has replaced some of the fillers like Shieldred and the such for the as many Sacrifice cards they can put, but they still keep this mid-range shell. What this means is the metagame distribution is actually very similar. Like it's gonna be a little bit worse against Devotion or against like Control, but the whole shell is still like similar, and the postal games are gonna be similar anyway because they're gonna have the same six card spells and the such, and that's why like Blue Control used to be good against Sacrifice, but nowadays since Sacrifice is not Sacrifice as we used to know it before, now it's like a hybrid between Sacrifice and Rakdos midrange. Once you see Sacrifice as this hybrid, all of these will make more sense to you. Not only the specific matchup against Control, but also other matchups like the Monarch and Devotion matchup being like almost a 50%, which was not the case 1 year ago, And that's the explanation. That's why it's fine against Blue White Control. Like if you play Blue White Control like now against Sacrifice, you're gonna have a fine game one, but not great. And post board, it's gonna be horrible because they're gonna be like, they're gonna have like this Thoughtseize into Duress plus Thoughtseize plus Fable or Omnix to his hands, and you're gonna be like dead in the water pretty fast. And that's why Mengu.
Thank you. Yes, nice explanation there. Yeah, we are looking forward to the new set, I guess, to bring back Mono Raptors midrange because that's the only thing I can play. No, that's not true.
Honestly, though, I'm not missing Pioneer much. After playing Draft, Modern, and Legacy, usually it's easy to miss the formats you don't play. Like I miss a Standard, but I'm not missing Pioneer as much as it could look I am. I think it's cool to analyze metagames, and I love doing it. Blah blah blah. But yeah, like yeah,
Yeah, same here.
I'm good with
I'm still
Legacy
waiting on
and
that.
Modern and
Yeah,
Standard.
I'm still waiting on that email from the the Legacy European Tour to tell me if I'm qualified or not to the RC. But if they tell me I'm not, that's like okay. That means I don't have to bother about Pioneer for I don't know months and months and months.
No, every week we will talk about
Well,
Pioneer here in the podcast until 2 weeks before the tournament. So you will have to listen about the Pioneer, Anthony winning all
it's
the
okay.
PTQs or whatever.
It's actually fine. It's actually fine to brainstorm Pioneer because looking at data and fight and such is fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think I announced it on the podcast here, but I did on Twitter and on my stream at the on Sunday of the Pro Tour. So on day 3 during the semifinals and finals, I'll be doing the Pro Tour watch party. So Javier, if you're not playing in the semifinals and you want to watch
Okay.
the thing, you can come to the other side, I guess, of the Magicom Barcelona. There will be, you know, seats and a huge screen, and instead of hearing Paul, Marshall, Corey, and I don't know, Cedric, honestly, I don't know who's commentating exactly, but instead of hearing them, you'll be hearing me, Toffel, and Filipa, and we kind of, you know, commentate live, not only the plays, but also just kind of interact with us,
Okay.
with the viewers, the people real time. So we kind of want to, the Wizards messaged us that they had this idea of turning the live show into actually a live show, more than
Okay.
just a watch party with just, you know, seats and the coverage going.
Yeah.
So
And
this is what's
interactive, right?
happening,
Like you mean
and
interactive experience, right? Like you will be asking things or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. People they wanted to make it more of a live show rather than just because they said that in Minneapolis, so when we were both there, they had it just like seats and screen. Whereas now they want to just have actual people interacting and engaging, and this is going to be like the last show of the weekend because of course when the finals end, the whole just kind of like tournament start to end and things like that. So this will be
I mean,
like a farewell to the event.
I appreciate your invite, but I hopefully we will play in the top four. You know, so I will not be able to
I know,
attend. That
I know,
that
no. I said if you're
that's
not.
the idea.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see you there, of course.
I mean, I will try.
I
I'm
mean,
honestly happy with last time. You know, I can bust this one and it's okay. But obviously, I'm gonna try my best
yeah,
anyway. It's less pressure is. I don't know if less pressure is good or not. I think it's not good for me. I think I behave better when I have more pressure, but I do have less pressure. But I'm still excited to do well because I still love the sensation. So maybe it's good. Maybe it's a good thing actually. I don't know.
I don't know. I always try to have as little pressure as I possibly can for any tournament, but
I
I also don't do well
I like
in a while.
85% pressure. Not too much,
Yeah,
but high enough. It's high.
yeah.
All right, I think we should be good for
But
the day, right, Mango?
we are,
I
yeah. If
think
you
we're good for the
wanna
day.
interact with us, you can comment on YouTube, on Twitter, or just also become a supporter on patreon.com/carnies to join the Discord. That's it. I think we can say
Yeah, I think
farewell.
this stats discussion is good. We could do this more. Just have the win rates on the screen and discuss them. Like discuss, like, you know, to also to the listeners that are not watching as well. But like, you know, we can just. I think this is very good. Can be good content. You know, trying to understand why things are going on here. That's probably a good thing. Like as an exercise to
Yep.
reading the metagame. You know what I mean? But this is something we could do. Just sit down and see the stats in the podcast so we can actually like talk how we're. I mean, let us know if you guys like, you people like this specific part of the podcast.
Yeah, these articles brought by Frank Karsten on the Mothership website are just great. Like he's just like so good at these things with datas and such. Like
Well,
analyzes
but the idea
and
here,
yeah,
like Frank brings on the articles what's happening, and what we can do is try to understand the layers of why it is happening, which is I think could lead us into having a better meta knowledge going forward. I will
yep.
say, like the questions like you ask, for example, for this sort, like those questions are questions that are good to make to yourself, so you can actually like think about it, and that's a good thing. I
Yeah,
think
this article is amazing. Unfortunately,
a lot of work put
it's
in
just
these articles, by the way.
yeah,
It's
this article is
yeah,
a lot of work put into the
it's a
article.
lot of yeah. This is not a
Yeah,
half an hour article for sure.
no, no.
No.
As as a person that writes, you know, half an hour articles and 3 hours article, you can definitely tell that this is. I mean, not three, probably
Uh,
way more than three.
yeah, exactly. So like three is like I will be the
Yeah,
conservative side. Yeah, like
yeah.
maybe three, but like not one also. All right,
All
I'm
right.
gonna wrap it up. Thanks a lot for listening, everyone. And as always, you know the feedback at Mango09. You can also tag me in the feedback if you want, but it's funnier when you only tag him, so we can troll silently. But yeah, do bye bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.